Imagine paying more than half your income in taxes, only to struggle with basic necessities. Sounds unfair, right? Well, in some countries this is the harsh reality. Today we're counting down the top 10 nations where sky-high taxes don't guarantee a good life. Buckle up to see which country make the list top. But before we jump into the list, I want to take a moment to thank you for your support. We work hard to bring you the best travel content, and if you enjoy our videos, please subscribe to the My Globe Trips YouTube channel. Now, let's dive into the list. Number 10, France. A country known for its romance and fine cuisine. But life here isn't all baguettes and barrettes. In 2024, the French are shelling out a hefty 45% of their income in taxes. That's nearly half their hard-earned money going straight to the government. You'd think with all that cash, life would be pretty sweet. Despite a respectable GDP per capita around $47,000 and a life expectancy of 82.5 years, France is grappling with some serious issues. High living costs, especially in cities like Paris, are putting a strain on many wallets. And let's not forget the social unrest. Those yellow vest protests weren't just for show, folks. With an unemployment rate of 7.4%, many French citizens are struggling to find work, leaving them wondering where all those tax euros are really going. Number 9, Ireland, the Emerald Isle. Known for its friendly people and stunning landscapes, you might think life here is all rainbows and pots of gold. But the reality? It's a bit more complicated. Irish citizens are forking over 48% of their income in taxes. That's right, almost half their paycheck is going straight to the government. Now Ireland's GDP per capita is an impressive $94,500. Sounds great on paper, doesn't it? But here's the kicker: a lot of that wealth is concentrated in the hands of big multinational corporations. For the average Joe, or should we say Paddy, life isn't so rosy. Housing shortages are a massive headache, especially in Dublin where rents are through the roof. And if you're living in rural areas, good luck getting access to the same services as city dwellers. With a healthcare expenditure of just 7.2% of GDP, lower than many of its European neighbors, many Irish folks are left wondering if their tax euros are really working for them. Number 8, Netherlands, where the citizens are paying a whopping 52% of their income in taxes. That's more than half their earnings. Now, the Dutch do have a pretty solid GDP per capita at $58,000, and their life expectancy is a healthy 82.1 years. Sounds good so far, right? Well, hold on to your wooden shoes, because there's more to this story. Despite all that tax money flowing into government coffers, the Netherlands is facing some serious challenges. Housing shortages are a massive headache, especially in cities like Amsterdam, where finding an affordable place to live is like trying to find a fish that can ride a bicycle. And let's talk about those regional disparities. If you're not living in one of the major cities, you might find yourself with limited access to services. With an unemployment rate of 4.4%, things could be worse, but many Dutch citizens are left wondering if their high taxes are really delivering the quality of life they deserve. Number 7, Sweden. They were handing over a jaw-dropping 52.9% of their income to the taxmen. That's more than half their hard-earned kroner. Now, Sweden does have some impressive stats. A GDP per capita of $60,000 and a life expectancy of 82.4 years are nothing to sneeze at. And with 11% of GDP going to healthcare, you'd think life would be pretty. Despite all that tax money, Sweden is grappling with some serious issues. Housing shortages in major cities like Stockholm are forcing many Swedes to wait years for a place to call home. And if you're thinking of escaping to the countryside, be prepared for potential gaps in service access. With an unemployment rate of 7.1%, job security isn't a given either. It's enough to make you wonder if all those tax kroner are really delivering the Swedish dream. Number 6, Belgium, home of delicious chocolates, crispy waffles, and eye-watering tax rates. Belgian citizens are saying goodbye to 53.7% of their income in taxes. That's more than half their earnings going straight to the government. Now, Belgium's not doing too shabby in some areas. With a GDP per capita of $52,300 and 10.7% of that GDP spent on healthcare, you might think life's pretty sweet. And a life expectancy of 81.1 years isn't too shabby either. Belgium is a country divided literally. Political fragmentation means decision-making can be slower than a snail race. And those regional inequalities, they're more pronounced than the difference between French and Flemish. Cities might be thriving, but rural areas often feel left behind. With an unemployment rate of 5.6%, not everyone's feeling the benefit of those high taxes. It's enough to make you wonder if all that money is really trickling down to where it's needed most. Number 5. Austria. Known for its stunning Alps and classical music, Austria is also famous for something less harmonious: its sky-high taxes. Austrian citizens are waving goodbye to 55% of their income in taxes. That's more than half their earnings. Now, Austria does have some impressive numbers. A GDP per capita of $58,000 is nothing to sneeze at, and with 10.3% of that GDP going to healthcare, you'd think Austrians would be living the high life. A life expectancy of 81.6 years suggests they're doing something right. But here's where the melody turns sour. Despite all that tax money, Austria is facing some serious challenges. The cost of living, especially in cities like Vienna, can be higher. And if you're living in rural areas, you might find yourself yodeling for better access to services. With an unemployment rate of 6.2%, not everyone's waltzing their way to job security. It's enough to make you wonder if all those tax euros are really creating the sound of music in everyone's lives. Number 4. Japan, land of the rising sun and rising taxes. Japanese citizens are saying sayonara to a staggering 55% of their income in taxes. That's more than half their yen going straight to the government now. Japan's got some impressive stats. A life expectancy of 84.6 years is the highest on our list, and they're spending 10.9% of their GDP on healthcare. With a GDP per capita of $43,000, things might seem rosy on the surface. But life in Japan isn't all cherry blossoms and sushi. The country is grappling with an aging population that's putting immense pressure on the younger generation. And let's talk about those living costs in cities like Tokyo. You might need a sumo wrestler's salary just to afford a tiny apartment. Natural disasters like earthquakes and typhoons are a constant threat, adding an extra layer of stress. And while the unemployment rate of 2.4% looks good on paper, it doesn't tell the whole story of underemployment and job insecurity. It's enough to make you wonder if all those tax yen are really creating a land of the rising quality of life for everyone. Number 3. Denmark. Known for its happiness index, Denmark is also topping charts for its tax rates. Danish citizens are parting with a whopping 56% of their income in taxes. That's right, more than half their krone is going straight to the government. Now, Denmark's got some numbers to brag about. A GDP per capita of $68,000 is impressive, and they're investing 10.5% of that GDP in healthcare. With a life expectancy of 81.3 years, they must be doing something right. But here's where the fairy tale gets a bit grim. Despite all that tax money, Denmark is facing some royal challenges. The cost of living, especially in Copenhagen, can be higher than the spire on Christiansborg Palace. Housing shortages are a real pain in the Viking helmet, with many Danes struggling to find affordable homes. And while the unemployment rate of 4.8% isn't terrible, it doesn't tell the whole story of underemployment and job insecurity. It's enough to make you wonder if all those tax krone are really creating a happily ever after for everyone in the land of Hans Christian Andersen. Number 2. Finland, land of 1,000 lakes and 1,000 taxes. Finnish citizens are paid to a jaw-dropping 56.95% of their income in taxes. That's well over half their euros. Now, Finland's got some stats that could make other countries green with envy. A GDP per capita of $53,000 is nothing to sneeze at. And they're putting 9.2% of that GDP into healthcare. With a life expectancy of 81.9 years, they're clearly doing something right in the land of the midnight sun. But life in Finland isn't all saunas and northern lights. Despite all that tax money, Finland is facing some chilling challenges. The cost of living, especially in Helsinki, can be higher than a ski jump in Lahti. And if you're living in the more remote areas, you might find yourself feeling as isolated as a lone reindeer, with limited access to services. The unemployment rate of 7.7% is the highest among the Nordic countries on our list, leaving many Finns out in the cold when it comes to job security. It's enough to make you wonder if all those tax euros are really creating a winter wonderland of quality life for everyone. Number 1. Ivory Coast. This West African nation tops our list with a tax rate that'll make your jaw drop harder than a coconut from a palm tree. in the Ivory Coast are kissing goodbye to a mind-boggling 60% of their income in taxes. Imagine working from January to July just to pay your taxes. Now, you'd think with tax rates higher than an elephant's eye, life in the Ivory Coast would be pretty sweet. But hold on to your safari hats, because the reality is far from rosy. The GDP per capita is a mere $2,286. That's less than what many people in other countries spend on coffee in a year. They're only spending 5.7% of that GDP on healthcare, which helps explain the shockingly low life expectancy of 57.4 years. And while the unemployment rate of 3.5% might not sound too bad, it doesn't tell the story of widespread underemployment and poverty. Add political instability and poor infrastructure to the mix, and you've got a recipe for a quality of life that's harder to swallow than unripe cocoa beans. So there you have it. These are the countries where high taxes don't necessarily translate to high quality of life. From the streets of Paris to the beaches of the Ivory Coast, we've seen that big tax bills don't always mean big returns for citizens. It's a stark reminder that it's not just about how much money goes into a government's coffers, but how effectively that money is used to improve people's lives. Whether it's housing shortages in the Netherlands, regional inequalities in Belgium, or political instability in the Ivory Coast, these countries show us that high taxes alone aren't a golden ticket to paradise. So next time you're grumbling about your tax bill, remember it could be worse. And hey, maybe take a moment to think about how those tax dollars are being spent in your own backyard. After all, a country's real wealth isn't in its tax rate, but in the quality of life it provides for all its citizens. Until next time, this is your YouTube channel, which reminding you to stay informed, stay engaged, and maybe stay grateful for what you've got. Thanks for watching.